slide presentations for any of this? Budget? Okay. Bill Reeves, please, sir. Please try to keep it without going back to the Garden of Eden about snakes, will you? Just.
Well, actually, I had this absolutely phenomenal PowerPoint, and then I thought about the times that we've spent together over the years, and I decided to ditch it. So anyway, we have a budget expansion request for $313,110 for our SWIG grants. Is a SWIG 15. The commission has already approved $500,000 from this federal grant, and this is the remaining sum under that SWIG 15 grant.
Are there any questions by the committee or the commission or the audience? I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion. I hear for a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. All opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Well, there's one other small one there, the 7,700 for the snake fungal disease.
Okay.
And that's a little bit of leftover money that we had from the grant. We received, or have in the last couple, 3 years, received a grant to study this in the state. This is a eastern kind of states disease that has just occurred in the last 5 years or so. And so this is money that we had out there that we just didn't include in the budget, and we need to expand the budget to include that.
Do I have a motion? Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Applegate.
Thank you. I don't have a slideshow either. I'm just gonna stand here and humbly ask that, given the presentation that Chuck just gave you to sort of fill you in on the plans that we have to deal with CWD, both in the pre-CWD period, which is where we are now and hopefully will stay, but also in the event of a bad thing happening sometime down the road. I'm asking that y'all approve a budget expansion of $155,000 for that. So that will allow us to, first of all, one of my critical things that I need to do 1st of July is to get a laboratory under contract that can handle all of the sampling that we will begin to do this fall in that enhanced testing phase of this, as well as to have the capability then to take on additional samples from us in the event of a detection.
All right, the total is $155,000, of which $38,750 is TWRA licensed dollars. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval of budget item number 2.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion or questions by anyone on the committee or the commission or the audience? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
It's approved. Mr. Goodland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You remember last month I gave a presentation on a proposed wild turkey project. I would like to bring that before the committee for consideration. Understanding there's been quite a bit of discussion during the proclamation covering turkey. I can go through. I was going to give a brief recap of main items, or I can bring it down to just a couple of main items if you feel like
I think I would hit
covered.
the few high spots. I think it's been well discussed.
Okay. I think again we're particularly concerned about the declines that were discussed, and when it comes down to it, we're not quite sure what's causing the declines and basically having a lack of data, and which is the purpose of the research project, to try to provide us answers on that. Should that project be approved, it would be a contract with the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. That would cover 6 years, 5 seasons of field research. The total cost of the project over the 6-year period is $1,018,325. These are the exact figures broken down by years. They would appear in the contract, and all of TWRA's financial obligation on this would be through the Pittman-Robertson funds that are available through U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and University of Tennessee would be requiring the 25% match, so there would be no TWRA license or state dollars. Another question came up at the last commission meeting, and should the commission decide to approve this project, it could either be withdrawn, all those monies obligated out of the current Pittman-Robertson funds, or it can be, while you would be approving the whole project, the money could be withdrawn just on the annual increments that are shown there. Would involve a lot of Region 2 personnel that would be working with landowners to secure study sites, permission to trap and to monitor an annual sample of at least 200 turkeys that would be maintained through the course of the project, and monitor the various parameters, biological parameters, hunter effort, and other factors like that. The results being applicable statewide. I did mention last meeting that there was one similar project, 7-year project going on in Missouri that was a 7-year project, about the same amount of cost. There was one more that we became aware, that started in 2014. There was another one that also was begun last year in Alabama. That is a 5-year project. Didn't want to bring that to note. Again, would be looking at the bottom line is that we feel like this study would provide us the information, answer a lot of management questions, such as impact of hunting, various seasons and bag limits, whether the brood survey data, the poult to hen data is a true indice of population levels, and how other factors, diseases, predation, whatever, is affecting poult and adult mortality. Again, this information, with all the money we've spent on and securing our number 2 game species in Tennessee, preceded only by deer. 30% of all Tennessee hunters hunt turkeys, and we feel like this would be a good investment to help us manage sustainable turkey populations into the future while maximizing hunter opportunity and satisfaction. Again, lacking that data, we may reduce or eliminate popular hunting opportunities that may be having little or no impact on the turkey populations. With that, I would also like to recognize Dr. Craig Harper from the University of Tennessee that's here, is one of the principal investigators. So if there are any other specific questions on the research, would direct that to Dr. Harper also, or Roger Applegate.
This is a combination Wildlife Committee and Budget Committee, according to our chairman. So are there any questions from either committee or comments?
I'm happy to make a motion to get it properly before us. I do have a question, but.
Okay.
Motion.
I'd accept that.
Thank you. Quick question, and this is just, when will be, assuming this passes right now, when will be the first sort of field opportunity for collaring, or when will this project actually begin? Obviously, there's a ramp-up time for that.
Right, the contract would be put in place to begin August 1st. Craig, do you have any specific timetables on?
Trapping would begin in the winter,
Great.
January through March.
Very helpful. Then I might make a request, if it's appropriate, Craig, and if it's not, just let me know, that the January to March timeline, to the extent that it would be appropriate and non-disruptive to the research project, that members of the commission might have an opportunity to see the field work while you all are doing it again, just as observers, but I think it would be a fascinating experience.
We have a rigorous application process that you have to go through, and in order to help in any of this research, I mean, you have to actually ask, and if you come, you'll.
Excellent. If you will remind me that I'm making that request for the members of the commission, thank you.
It's amazing what you can get for $1 million, isn't it? That's,
Anyone else?
I'll second Chairman Woodson's motion.
I have a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion or questions of the commission or the committees? Audience?
I wanted to make a comment about the budget. This has been bandied about as a $1 million project. Yes, the total cost after all those years is $1 million, but if you look at wildlife research that incorporates radio collaring animals and following them, this is not an expensive project. If you trap enough animals to have a sample size in which you can have answers, you have to have a lot of animals, and those radio transmitters cost something. I'm not going to be the one out there following the animals around. That's why we have graduate students and technicians, and it takes a lot of work. And you've got to pay people to go out and collect this information. We've got to take care of vehicles. We've got to purchase gas, motel rooms, per diems. I mean, you all do business, and you know there's a cost to doing business. I particularly want to make clear that Craig and Dave are not getting any kickbacks in any of this. I mean, I drive an 18-year-old pickup truck with 300,000 miles on it. I mean, there's nothing that comes back to us like, we're padding our pockets with something. I mean, we have been requested to put forth a proposal. We find this is exciting and needed, and we think it'll be most helpful. And with all due respect, the cost that is associated with it is actually kept to a bare bones minimum. There's nothing inflated about this, and it's not just radio telemetry, but also the disease work as well as the surveys that will be done. So you'll get a lot of information from it.
Craig, I don't think there was any, of all the discussion, I don't think there was any, and I know you didn't mean it like that, but there was no consideration that the money wasn't properly spent. So
Right, but when
that
you
wasn't the
speak into
discussion.
a $1 million project, it's easy for,
Yeah.
Other people to think, oh my gosh, we're gonna spend it, but that's over a long period of time.
I think that discussion was based on need, not how you spend the money. So, I don't think that's a problem. I do have, no offense to you at all, but I do have a question about how we select contractors for this. We use Tennessee Tech, we use University of Tennessee. I've not heard MTSU, but they have a wildlife research area. How do we select a particular school to help us with this type of research project?
take a stab at that. What, in instances I'm aware of where we typically have experts on the field with whether it be fisheries research, in this case, Dr. Harper and Dr. Buehler and their involvement with the Southeast Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies Wild Turkey Working Group, that they are recognized within the state. I don't think there are other researchers that have the experience working with this that they do, and I know we try to put forth research contracts to entities within the state, and I believe we've typically used that approach in as far as justifying sole source contracts.
But it's not an RFP or a bid type. Okay. Is there any further discussion or question? Yes, ma'am.
My apologies, I'm well past my word limit today. So I realize that we're very tired. I do want to say, because it's important for the conversation earlier on the bag limit on fall turkeys, I represent Middle Tennessee, Region 2, and this is obviously a big issue. And I think that learning about what's happening with our wild turkeys is really important. I think this project has value. And we have all obviously taken, at least the members of the Wildlife Committee, taken a very strong line supporting the long-term view on this resource. And I think that I feel great about that decision to be very conservative, but I also think it's important to know what's behind that data. Harvest data is not population data, but it tells us something, and it tells us we need to dig deeper. And I support this specific recommendation. I think we will learn a great deal, and we can release and provide more opportunity. But I think the conservative nature of our approach is very thoughtful, and I think the long view for the folks in Middle Tennessee and across the state will benefit from it. And I just wanted to say that because I think they do relate to each other, and it's very important.
And one other comment, if you don't mind, that I intended to make on this and provide clarification, is that whatever degree of conservatism the commission decides to take in the fall bag limits, as I mentioned before, it's ideal if we can maintain those regulations for at least 2 years to get baseline data. And correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, but actually it is not a bad thing at all in the research design than if harvest and population seems to be rebounding, or conversely, if there's, after those 2 years, it's not bad to add into the design. If we want to make a change, it's not like we have to hold that for 6 years. We can make a change after those 2 initial years and actually measure the effects of what those changes are and provide some more information and insights.
Thank you, Mark. Any other comments or questions? Commission or the audience? I have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor?
This is a joint vote as
Yep,
well?
yep.
Okay, just to
Joint vote,
clarify.
both committees. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mark. Alan Peterson.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Cox, how short you want this? I had a beautiful video I was going to show.
Short as you can make it, but I think this is an important project, and so you can hit the high spots. I don't think
Okay.
it's a problem, but I'd like for you, everybody hadn't seen this, needs to go see this facility.
Well, I can show you the 5-minute video if you want to, or I can skip that and go right to the heart of the matter.
Let's go to the heart of the matter.
All right? I'm here today to request not just $1 million, but $2.6 million. The Lone Oaks, if you're not aware already, the Lone Oaks 4-H shooting facility is being constructed, and it's located where that little thing down in the right down there is. Memphis is to the left, Jackson's up in the far right corner. It's in Hardeman County. It's a new 4-H facility for the state, and several millions of dollars will be spent developing this facility. The video would have shown how wonderful a place it is. The reason I'm asking for the budget expansion of $2.6 million is to conceive, construct, operate a shooting range that will consist of a trap range, skeet range, 5-stand sporting clays, wobble traps, traditional sporting clays, build an outdoor pavilion, build a headquarters and educational facility that will be used by 4-H. There's plans to also have the facility available for the public and for corporate businesses to stay at a convention center type motel facility and have use of the facility for big events like that. This is a schematic kind of what they want to, or of the facility. In the left part of where the arrow's pointing there, the shaded kind of a tan color, is where the shooting range shotgun range part of what we're asking for would be constructed. The specific plans are, if you look at, there's a green dot kind of on the left center, would be trap and skeet. The sort of lavender would be the 5-stand, the yellow would be the wobble trap, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way around the loop is a trail through the woods and fields for the sporting clays. That's detailed. It's all this stuff should be in your packet, I believe. Just the column on the left is the federal funds provided to construct the facility, and on the right is the match and how they intend to make their match, which will be provided by UT and Hardeman County. And there will, so what we're asking for would be all federal dollars or UT making the match. There's no state hunting and fishing license dollars involved in this, and it would all be flow-through funds.
I've been to this location, to this facility, and it is quite something to see, and UT's gonna develop it. Ben West is, pretty forward-looking, and he's gonna develop this into a world-class facility, and SCTP kids from probably 3 or 4 counties will be able to take advantage of this. I would like, if we go to West Tennessee in the next year, this would be a good tour to take, Director Carter. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Do you want to run the real estate report tomorrow, Mr. Chairman? He's not staying? Well, let's do it. Or you thought you weren't staying?
I can be as brief as you'll let me.
Well, we want to know what's going on.
Okay. Well, shoot. Everything's okay over here. Start in West Tennessee, as usual. It's a little hard to see, but all of this is in your books, and if you have questions about it, feel free to find me or call me. We've closed a few tracks, particularly probably the largest one is this Triple Z track down in Fayette County. That was 290 acres, I think, and then Fowler up in Chester County was I think at least around 300 acres. The Buffalo Ridge tract that's over in Humphreys County in the eastern portion of the region should be closing either today or tomorrow. In Region 2, we closed the Johnson tract, which is up at Cedar Hill Swamp in Robertson County, and then down below the very small access to the Elk River that we worked with the Wildlife Foundation on to get closed. And there's several others there that are still pending, including the very large Winchester RLF tract over in the southeast. They're down at Bear Hollow Mountain. In Region 3, we closed what's known as the Lynn tract. That is at the Boyles WMA, and that was I think 125 acres or so. There's still several out there pending, including a couple of larger ones, the McCart tract, which is over in Morgan County, 1,750 acres, and the Cunningham tract should be closing real soon. That's 2,600 acres, and that is at Scotts Gulf Centennial Wilderness. Then in Region 4, we closed the Martin tract, which is in Scott County, I believe, and that was a smaller tract, 100 or so acres, 150 acres. We're still working on getting the John Sevier gun range transferred over to the agency from the Corps of Engineers. And there's a few larger tracks up there as well, including Gunsight Mountain over in Scott County. That's 2,200 acres. And Commissioner Baker about 2 months ago asked how much land we'd closed on in the current year, and I think the answer to that is 950 acres. This is a 10-year period showing what we closed on. I just threw a couple of slides together the last day or two, and the purple is what we bought over the last 10 years from 2006 to 2016, and it's sort of concentrated in some areas, and the green is the stuff that we already owned. And just to kind of throw some numbers up there, it shows what we bought each year over in the acres acquired, and that's probably the most meaningful amount. So in total, in 10 years, we bought 37,557 acres. Last year was a good year for us, mostly due to the fact that you all have approved some significant purchases with unobligated PR funds that we were able to find match for. And I think by the end of this year, we'll probably close on, it'll be right around 9,000 or 10,000 acres total. So this sort of shows the cumulative and how much money was spent. A lot of that was wetland fund, but all those figures are there. I did not get that into your books because I just did that the last day or two, but I could send them out if you wish. And I'll stop there.
And, you know, for something that you can easily email, that's fine.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you. Any questions of the real estate report? Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
I would like to acknowledge, I asked the GIS people to update our property in the back of the book, and they did. Thank you very much. It's now not 5 years old. Mr. Chairman, that's all we've got.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. Given the late hour that it is, I've spoken with Chair Holbert on the Government Relations Committee issue. We're going to roll that to tomorrow. And Director Carter, any comments you and I have, they'll wait till tomorrow as well, if that's all right with you. With that, we'll consider ourselves adjourned, and we'll reconvene at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you so much.